Hi, good morning. My name is Minnie Idar, and this is my results video for my pH testing and my salt tolerance. And once again, this is Minnie Idar. So I have my specimen or my broth here that actually incubated for more than 48 hours. So today I will be showing you what the results for both testing, since it's easier to show both, I guess, instead of show you both of my results for the outcome of my testing for both the salt and the pH. So, well, first of all, I'm going to show you the results for my pH testing, which is we did it with the epidermis and the yeast, the baker's yeast, and we actually did a 5, a pH 5, a pH 7, and a pH 9. So we're going to observe the environmental factors of how this organism can actually grow depending on the pH, because there's some factors that also can affect the growth, which could be the pH factors, the pH level, and the oxygen level, of course, how warm it is, and that's one of those are some factors that can actually affect the growth of significant growth of an organism, and also the chemical factors. When some of the organism can grow in high pH and low pH. It depends on what type of organism. It could actually affect the solubility and the toxicity of the chemical and the water. So it depends on how what type of organism. For example, the one, like the pH 5, it's too acid, it's acidic. And then pH 7, of course, it's the neutral. And then pH 9, it's base. So you can actually adjust those if you actually can adjust those two pH to base, to neutral, by adding, if it's too acidic, you can add hydrochloric acid, so it can reach to 7. And so for the base to reach the 7, you actually have to neutralize it with sodium hydroxide. So you can actually adjust the pH, but we're not doing it here. But you can actually adjust the pH. But with this one, I did the epidermis and the yeast, and actually it looks like the yeast have some growth, because the color of the broth change. It's a little cloudy, and I see some growth on the bottom, and it's cloudy. This is a pH 7, so this is a neutral pH. Comparing to my epidermis, it didn't actually grow at all, because the liquid is still clear. As you can see, it's not turbid, so there's no growth that I'm observing. So that's what my experiment is resulting, that I don't see any growth on my epidermis on a neutral pH. However, we can see the epidermis on both pH 9 and pH 5, there's no growth at all, because as you can see, the liquid is still clear. In contrast with my yeast, which is pH 9 and pH 7, they actually have growth, because it's cloudy and there's growth on the bottom of the broth. So it did actually have some growth, which is the yeast, the baker's yeast. it did grow, so that's good. So it means that epidermis did not survive either a low pH, which is pH 5, the neutral pH, which is the 7, and the base, which is the 9. I didn't see any growth on those pH for the epidermis, but I see growth with the yeast, with all the pHs, the 5, the 7, and the 9. So that's the result on my pH testing. But I also, and this is the result for my salt tolerance for my epidermis and cerevisiae. Let's see what the results are. So, the epidermis, is actually a halophile, so it means that it can grow in sodium, but it has to be 25% sodium. But this is only 15%. So I didn't see, it can grow in saline solution, but it has to be at least 25% saline solution. So the sodium is too low for, I assume, that's why I didn't have any growth on the epidermis, but it's salt tolerant. So it should grow in salty condition if it's 25% or more. But I didn't see any growth on anything on a 15%. 1% and 7%. The epidermis did not even have any growth at all. I don't see any growth because the broth is still clear and I don't see any growth. For when I did my research, I actually showed that it's actually it's a salt tolerant organism, but containing it should at least contain 25% sodium chloride, but our experiment only showed up to 15% of sodium chloride, so I didn't see any growth on the epidermis. However, I just want to let you know it does tolerate salt if it's 25% or more. Well, and then the yeast, cerevisiae is the yeast, but it looks like on the 1%, this is all cerevisiae. Okay. These are all my, actually my yeast, my baker's yeast. And I see that on the first one, this is the 1% sodium chloride. And I see some growth there because it's turbid. But from my experience that it's salt sensitive, but it shows some turbidity. So it shows some cloudiness on a 1% sodium chloride. So I'm not sure why it did that, but salt sensitive, not able to adopt in hypersaline. But so that's my my 1% saline solution or sodium chloride. And this one is actually my 7%, which doesn't have growth at all because it's clear. It's not even turbid or cloudy, so I don't see any turbidity. So it's clear, so it means it didn't react. So it's not, it didn't react with my sodium chloride. And lastly, this is my 15% sodium chloride. And this also didn't have any turbidity or any cloudiness to the broth, so the organism did not grow because there's nothing there. So that is the conclusion that these are the results for my pH testing in salt tolerance. So that concludes my video. Thank you very much.